Now the boots are an incredibly important part of the hike, and you want to get boots that are appropriate for the terrain. For this kind of hiking where you're carrying a backpack, you're going to be walking on irregular terrain, you do want to get boots that as a minimum have some ankle support. You may even want higher boots. The lower cut boots are more likely to cause problems and twisted ankles. So, and also if you're going at high altitudes, you want a boot that's got some good insulation to help keep your foot warm. You can't completely rely on the socks to give you all of the protection and warmth that you need. Now, make sure that they're waterproof. Typically you have to add some waterproofing to the boots. If you check with the manufacturer, they'll tell you what sort of waterproofing is appropriate for the Gore-Tex or leather or whatever material comes with your boots. Another thing to think about is you can get inserts that you can put in your boots, some arch supports that basically remove the liner that's in the boot and putting in these arch supports. That also adds some extra comfort and reduces your chance of blisters. You do want to pack some moleskin, which is almost like a band-aid that you put on the areas that are pressure points. If you're starting to feel that there's some rubbing in a certain part of your foot when you're walking, you can put that moleskin on there to protect that area. So that's also a good idea to pack. Another thing is when you're hiking up a mountain, you're all going to end up coming back down that mountain hopefully, and there's a tendency for your foot to jam into the toes to jam into the front of the boot. So there are what happens is then the nails get pushed into your toes, and you can get bruising, what they call a runner's toenail, which is a black toe bleeding underneath the toenail. In order to prevent that, it's good just before you leave for your hike, you should actually trim your toenails very short. And the other trick is to work on the lacing. So there's a little trick I can show you on this boot here, that the laces down low are laced normally to give you the proper comfort for the lower part of your foot, but the upper part you're going to want to lace much tighter to hold your ankle back so that your foot doesn't slide forward as you go downhill and your toes don't jam into the front. So in order to have it loose enough at the lower part and tight enough at the upper part, you need to have the laces locked. So there are two tricks. One you can see here is to when you cross your the laces over, you can wrap them around each other a couple times to secure them so that they don't slide. And then the second trick is that when you wrap the lace around the next level, you wrap it twice. So if you can see here, there's an X where the lace wraps around here, goes down and wraps around again at that same level. And so that locks it so that whatever tension you have below can be looser than the tighter tension you have above, holding your ankle back. And Ziploc bags are very important. It's a very useful way to organize the things that you're bringing. Now, I talked about the fact that you should be wearing your clothes in layers, and that you're going to be bringing multiple pairs of different things, and it's nice to keep your clothes both dry and sorted by putting them in these baggies. One of the things that was striking to us is that when you're at the higher altitudes, as clouds pass over you, the temperatures will swing 30 degrees within 30 seconds. It's remarkable. There's very little humidity, so depending on whether the sun is shining or not, you'll see rapid temperature changes, and you'll quickly be taking off layers and then quickly putting layers back on. So that's, getting back to the layer technique, that's one of the reasons why it's so important to be able to pack in layers, is to be able to add them or subtract them very rapidly. The other thing to think about is that, for a multi-day trip, you're packing, in this case it was for 7 days, and you want to be maximally efficient and also not get too stinky. So you have to think about the areas that sweat the most and really do need to be changed each day. So that's really your socks, your underwear, and your armpits, your t-shirt. So that was really my strategy, was that each day I had a new pair of socks, a new pair of underwear, and a new t-shirt. But all the other layers I could reuse over and over again. And that cuts down on the amount of stuff that you have to pack, while at the same time keeping your hygiene as good as possible. Now, speaking of hygiene, it can really get quite nasty and foul if you're sweating for 7 days in dusty environments and really not staying clean. This is particularly difficult for the people that you're hiking with, and of course you want your tent mates to be keeping themselves relatively clean as well. So one great trick is to bring these, wet wipes, or this is a different brand, but the gist of it is that these are actually just pieces of cloth that are soaked with some sort of cleanser. Whenever possible, it's good to clean your hands, especially before eating, using these liquid hand sanitizers. They're really great, easy to use. Just throw a little bit on your hands and wipe them. So definitely always bring a hand sanitizer and keep it close to your, easily available. Another thing that's important is, as you're hiking, your nose, for many people, especially as you go up into higher altitudes, will be running, and so tissues are always good to have. I like these little packets of tissues. Brought multiple ones of these to keep them readily accessible and to keep them dry. It's good to put these inside baggies so that you always have some dried tissues. Some people will use a bandana and tie that to the front of their pack and use that to easily blow their nose with, and that's whichever you prefer. Going to the bathroom is a big issue up on the mountain. It's very convenient to pick up these packs of toilet paper. They're very small rolls. Now, I talked a little bit about the water earlier, and I talked about how I'm using the Camelback underneath my chest. Did make a change to that during the actual hike, which is to, instead of running the insulated hose through my sleeve in my arm, I actually just left the insulated hose wrapped underneath my chest, which worked very well. A couple of key points. One is to have the hose where it comes out of the Camelback sack facing towards your belly so that it stays the warmest, because that's the area that has the potential for freezing. The other thing that you can do to reduce the chance of freezing is to add some electrolytes which is basically salty water, like Gatorade, to the water to reduce the chance of freezing. And for instance, this is what we used. It was orange flavored, there's lemon flavored, and they taste quite good. It's really just like Gatorade, but it also does lower the temperature at which the water will freeze. One other trick was to help use a camera case strap that was shortened to hold the Camelback from the top. So this was hooked onto the top, wrapped over my shoulder, down my back, and then the other end of the hook was clamped onto a loop on my pants on my back. And that just gave some extra support to hold the Camelback upright as it's tucked into my chest. The down parka that I wore had a pocket in the front that allowed me to put the bottom of the Camelback into that, and then my backpack waist strap actually went below that to give extra support so that there's really no place for the Camelback to slide. What others do is they use wide mouth bottles like this Nalgene bottle. The fact that it's wide mouth reduces the chance of freezing, and if there is some ice there, it's easier to break. Some people wrap these with a sock for insulation, which was a good idea. Keeping close to your body is a good idea. And some people walk with it upside down so that if the ice were to form, theoretically it would form on the bottom, which would be at the top, although that's a little bit trickier to do. Just something to consider. In terms of water purification, there are different techniques. Some people use hand pumps. What we found is that these iodine tablets are really quite effective and work well. They're easy to use. You put in a couple tablets per liter. It takes 30 minutes to sterilize the water. The problem is that the regular iodine tastes quite nasty, but fortunately you can use these neutralizing tablets that you put after the 30 minutes have passed, which really removes most of the foul taste of the iodine. Works quite well. But again, just to be on the safe side and to enjoy things, adding some kind of flavoring really helps make a difference.